Welcome to the revolution in the airwaves. It's The Cure with Scotty and Sully, where we don't just talk about the medical industry, we transform it. This is The Cure with Scotty and Sully, where we don't just cover excellence, we create it.
Hey everybody, Scott Adams and Brian Sullivan here with Scotty and Sully, The Cure. We are looking forward. We're back finally. Sully had a little bit of an issue after the 4th of July where he had to spend a couple of months in the pokey. He finally got out. So here's our first show in 6 months. Welcome back to The Cure. Today we have our good friend Adam Adkins, who hurts me to say this as a Bama guy, but he played for Michigan. He was on a championship team there in 1997. And now he is the inventor and CEO of Caerus Strength. Adam, thank you so much for joining us today. And you are our first show back in a few months. So good to have you here, man. We are excited to go.
Hey, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, well, listen, you and I met, Adam. This was maybe a couple of weeks ago. We share a great buddy and my man, Yale Van Dyne, another fellow Michigan Wolverine. Did you play with Yale?
Oh, no. Yale played in the late 80s. I played in the late 90s. So we missed each other by a decade.
All right. So he just sort of took you under his wing, although you could crush him because you're much bigger than him.
I can't. Well, a lot of Michigan connections. So I'm good friends with Justin Spiewak, who was a wrestler, really good friend. So I actually got introduced like 2 or 3 different ways to Yale. And ever since we met, I mean, he's salt of the earth. I love the guy. So we became really good friends quickly.
All right. Who'd you play with at Michigan in the late 90s?
So and my quarterbacks were Brian Griese, Tom Brady, Drew Henson, and John DeVar. But I always say Woodson won the Heisman my freshman year. We had something in my tenure of over 70 guys in some capacity in the NFL at some point. So I played for one of the better eras at Michigan, I would say. Although last year, not this year, but last year could have been just as good, if not maybe a little bit better than our team.
Yeah. Shh. And then they come back and do it again this year in the bowl. So anyhow, you talk about Michigan, Adam. Talk a little bit. You were on some legendary teams there, obviously, when you talk about those quarterbacks, which is pretty cool for anybody who's listening. But talk about some of the standout moments in those Big Ten days and kind of let's start out there today on the conversation.
Well, I mean, some of the things that stand out to me, really, I mean, we can go into the football moments, but me growing up as a kid that didn't have much, poor family, didn't get to travel. I got to see some of the coolest things in the country, travel around the United States. We got to go to Hawaii. I got to meet President Clinton. We got to go to the White House, all these things that normal people don't get to do or have the experiences that we have. I mean, those are really long lasting. The games, the camaraderie, the friendships to this day, I mean, it's a brotherhood. And I wasn't a superstar by any means, but at the same point in time, we all bled together, played together, and it's really cool to see it. I don't know how they do in Alabama, but us Michigan alumnus, we really stick together. Everybody tries helping one another. So it's been really rewarding even off the field. But some of the biggest memories, I mean, being out at the Rose Bowl and Ryan Leaf playing against us, Woodson going, obviously, the national championship game that year, but just like going to Universal Studios and watching those two on the front of the same roller coaster that we were in and the rivalry, and just some of the fun that we had. I mean, the games, those are big moments, and we could talk all day about some of those experiences. But, I mean, there's a lot that sticks out about Michigan, but I played with some of the best people to play the sport. Steve Hutchinson is one of the best linemen I've ever seen play the game. We didn't know Tom was going to be the greatest quarterback of all time. We had Woodson, who is a Hall of Famer, unbelievable defensive back. We had just a lot of guys. And then after us, I mean, Michigan's got a lot of guys still in the league, but it was special being part of that team.
Hey,
where'd you grow up, Adam?
I grew up in Troy, Michigan, so about 15, 20 minutes north of Detroit.
What was Tom Brady like?
Back in college, he was quiet. There was a difference between him and the way that Drew Henson would walk into a room and Tom would walk into a room. Drew had a lot more charisma back, I would say, in college. But as far as a player goes, I always tell people about Tom, what I remember is he was always do the ball in the right spot, had a great arm, especially between the hashes. But I ran a 4.8 40, and he ran a 5.4. So me being a half second faster than quarterback is something that I still feel good about these days.
It's good for setting the screen.
Oh, yeah. You definitely get out in front, gives you a little bit of a chance. But no, I didn't know when we were going through it, like how special it really was what we did. But when you look back at the people that we were with and the things that we did, truly once-in-a-lifetime experiences.
When you were at the Clinton White House, you get to meet Monica?
No, but the funny thing is I wanted to say something because it was at the period of time that it came out, but he had not admitted it yet. And I still wanted to be that guy that got thrown around by Secret Service to say, because we all stood in the line and we got to shake hands and take a picture with him. And I was going to say something. No, everybody just stood in line. What's your name? Adam? Hi, Adam. Shook your hand, took a picture, and moved on. But, I was tempted.
Knowing him, he probably would have laughed and thought it was fun. Thought it was funny.
Oh, yeah.
Or if you put on a rubber glove before you shook his hand.
Change my shirt. I don't know.
Scott, he can represent one of your fine clients, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Nice glove company, right? Hey, all right. So time passes, right? Now you start building your family. Now you're out in the real world. And you have a story that was the inspiration behind what we will soon introduce, which is your innovative product. So tell us about your entrepreneurial moment, maybe even the journey leading up to it. And you said, damn it, there's a need here. And she's staring right in front of me.
That's it. So again, I've been a championship athlete my whole life. High school won a state championship, wrestling, football state championships, national champion. Again, undefeated boxer. So I've always been an athlete until I wasn't, until at the end of college when I was injured, didn't go to the NFL, then the real world hit. So met my wife, beautiful wife, been together almost 20 years, and we moved down to Florida. And for the first 15 years, kind of lost my passion, didn't really know what I was going to do. Always been in sales, loved sales. Then I started working in the legal industry, and I work with a lot of Michigan alumni. So that, again, it's easy. People that we love to do, it's a brotherhood. And so one of the guys who is now my partner, Carl Fink, and I were talking about getting in shape. It was 6 months into the pandemic, and everybody was feeling terrible. There was nowhere to go out to eat. We all lived it. And I'm like, man, I've never been in worse shape of my life. And my partner's like, well, I've never been in better shape. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I don't have to drive an hour to work or an hour home. He's like, so I do an hour of cardio in the morning and I lift in the evening. And I'm like, all right, so I've got no more excuses. And I went on a journey. I lost 150 pounds. I put on over 20 pounds of muscle. I did it in 11 months. But in that journey, I was thinking about starting a health company, just helping people do the same thing, how to do it naturally, not with injections, which I don't look down on anybody, but just eating healthy, moving, just feeling a lot better. And we discussed a condition called sarcopenia. So sarcopenia is a muscle size and strength disease that's intertwined with all musculoskeletal diseases, but it's reversible. And as we started talking, there was only 3 books out in the world at that time on sarcopenia. And so I started reading them. And in every book, they had pictures of the people sitting in front of a big machine doing an exercise or pulling a band off that's off screen attached to something. And I'm looking at every picture and I'm like, and I look, my daughter, who was born with spastic quadriplegic cerebral palsy with microcephaly, my angel's always going to be in a wheelchair. Well, I'm in the living room and she's sitting there and I'm looking at the book and I'm like, she certainly couldn't. And the population, her friends, and people in wheelchairs in general or disabled individuals, when you put somebody in an able-bodied gym that's disabled, they have to either contort to get into the machines. They can't necessarily get all the benefit. It wasn't meant for certain conditions, and they really do their best. And I'm like, there's got to be a better way. It was like the light bulb went off. And I said, well, what if we use the body as the anchor so that we're the stability and we're also the force generation? But if we anchored it to the body, then anybody can have one and it can go anywhere with you. I said, you're not restricted by having to have a doorway, a door jamb, these mirrors that are stuck to a wall that people don't necessarily like just work out of one place. They want to go and do things. And so I pulled out my pen and paper and started drawing, which I have the original drawings. And I started putting my hands in imaginary handles and straps. So I'm sitting there, my wife's looking at me, and all of a sudden she's like, oh, not again. And I put my hands in these straps. I'm like, well, from this position, I could do a chest press. I could also do a tricep press. I could do an overhead press. And I started going, if I wanted to do different strength moves, I started drawing where I would put the different attachment points. And so went through and did all 4 views. And I shared it with my partner, who happens to be a really, really great patent attorney. Again, I worked in the legal industry, and he always hears it. I'm like, hey, I got an idea. Can I share it with you? And after going through it with Carl Fink, he did the international patent searches, all the patent searches here. He's like, no, there's nothing like it. And he sent me 5 things that I had to look through, but none of them, nothing did what ours does, looks anything like it. And so we knew we were onto something. And then that's where I take that off and start the company, which we can go into. But really the inspiration for the whole product was to help anybody anywhere, whether it's a grandmother in Indiana or India that has no electricity. It really doesn't matter, that they can do it where they want to. And as I tell people, I invented the world's first body anchored strength conditioning and therapy system that can be accessed in all positions, whether laying in a hospital bed, a wheelchair, to fully functioning individuals. We can help people in all those different positions strengthen, get healthy, either back to function, preventative. I mean, there's a lot we can do with our system, but that's what we have. We have the most dynamic brace ever, because most braces are meant to put you in a isolated position. Ours does that, but it allows functional movement, and it allows you to strengthen while you're properly aligned. So a lot of times people are getting out of the brace quicker because the inserts are removable. So once they strengthen and heal, now they can just use it, and they can continue to use it as a health tool.
Cool. That's awesome. I love the passion you have for that, Adam, and just how you talk about it. Talk a little bit about how being an athlete and being on teams and some of that helped you to get kind of where you're at with this and to bring it to life, for lack of a better word.
The first thing is learning to deal with disappointment. So at the end of the day, the amount of times you hear no, regardless of what it is, what step of the process that you're in, you're going to hear no. And every time you hear a no and you keep going, you're getting closer to the actual answer. Most people give up, or there's so many no's they can take, or they get so far and they stop. And being an athlete, failing is part of getting better. Getting beat, which you hate doing, but getting beat, you learn more lessons than when you win. Like if I went out there and wrestled, I learned more on my losses than I did if I could go out there and just pummel a kid. I knew my moves. It's what did I do wrong to make me better? That's really how I got better. So using the athlete mentality and not giving up and going at it with a tenacious attitude, it became a mission. So this is one of the first things in my life that I didn't look at and say, hey, I'm trying to make as much money as I can. What can I do and make to sell to people? I literally looked at it as, and still to this day, it's the motto of our company, although a lot of people use it. Our goal is changing lives. It's how many lives can we change? The question is, how many units do you sell, or it's how many lives you change today? How many people did you put it on so they can get it and see it and expose them to our great technology, because it will help. So that's really where we're coming from, is how do we help people? How do we change their lives?
That's awesome. And now, go ahead, Scotty.
I just was going to add on to that and then jump in, Sully, with the question. I was just going to add to, I love, you don't talk about the product. You talk about the problem it solves and changing lives. And then the product will automatically kind of sell itself. We talk about it on this show all the time, sell the problem you solve, not the solution. Your product is the solution. You're talking about helping the grandmother in India that may not have electricity. That's her problem, and you're solving it for her. And I love how passionately you do that. It's always fun to see someone who believes so strongly in their product. I actually had a podcast last week, or right before Christmas, with the guy from Zoll, and they had the AED monitor on the field in the Buffalo game that saved his life. And I mean, just how passionate the guy was about getting a Zoll unit in every facility, and how easy it is for the average everyday person to use. That will save.
I'll tell you, that is what drives me. So what gives me goosebumps isn't somebody saying, hey, we just got a huge account that we landed. It's getting the call from my guy that's sitting next to the 85-year-old and 84-year-old husband and wife. And the husband gets on the phone and is sobbing, crying, because they were told that his wife, who had a stroke, would probably never be able to walk again or move again. And my guy goes, puts the vest on, the straps, works with her legs, her arms a little bit. And in this particular client, wasn't like she was all of a sudden, bam, jumped up. But after working with her, she was able to open and close her left hand and grab her spouse's hand. And she was able to move her foot a little bit. And just the hope that she got from that, and her husband crying to me saying, you know what? We have hope now that she's not going to be in this bed. And hope's it's the most potent medicine you can have. Mm. So once you show somebody they can do something they didn't think they could do, now sky's the limit. And that's kind of what our system does when we put somebody in it. We overload muscles. We really put weaker muscles underneath tension. You go through a bunch of motions. And when they come back to baseline, everything's easier. Getting up's easier, moving's easier. Yeah. So even if it's done at the beginning of a therapy session or in sports as a warm-up, you only need 15, 20 minutes in this. And all of a sudden, I mean, when you stand up and put the foot straps on, you're activated core, head to toe. Your core has to activate to stand up. So then once you take it off, and they can do things and walk like they haven't been walking. I mean, we've seen it help drop foot. We've seen all sorts of things that it helps right away. That's really what moves me. because the more people we help like that, we know the product it's helping. Most people wish they could help one person. And so what better way to spend your life than to not chase dollars, but to chase like helping the more people you help? Think about that. We've learned to keep people alive to age 100, but people are on medicine and sick for the last 15, 20 years of their life. Like, what's the quality of life like? Well, a 90-year-old can still gain muscle. A 90-year-old can still gain strength. So anybody that's willing to do it, I think we have a solution for. And it really takes away a lot of the fear. So I would say a lot of older citizens or people that have been out of school, the longer they go without working out, they'll feel that they're afraid of being embarrassed and they're going to look stupid doing something like doing the wrong move. Some people have body dysmorphia. They don't want to sweat. Like all these obstacles that people give themselves. They don't want to travel. They don't want to do anything. We've eliminated it because we brought the solution to the person. So we can go and meet the person where they're at.
Yeah.
And bands are a lot more forgiving than free weights. So people can go through it and literally have no experience to being a professional athlete and still being able to find where they're at and then progress from there. So again, that's what's pretty unique about our system is that it can handle a 4-year-old up to a 7X giant is the sizes that we have them. So it's almost cradle to grave as far as the band stuff goes.
Well, and Scotty, with the amount that you and that we travel, and many folks who are listening to the program today are traveling sales or marketing people. In our last conversation with Adam, I'm like, I have a decision to make when that plane lands and it's 4:30 and I'm in my hotel and maybe I'm going to go out to dinner that night. Do I put on my shorts and my sneakers and head down to the gym? And I'm thinking, if this thing comes in a nice little small pack, which it does, how cool would it be to be able to get a 20-minute workout in that Adam says is as effective as a much longer traditional workout? Knock that baby out, and there you go, right? And so, Adam, that was only one of even just personal experiences where I'm saying, man, just as an individual, you take the healthcare mix out of course, all fitness is related to healthcare, but what a great use case, right? And I also mentioned that I like to work out in the sauna, and I'll bring some dumbbells in the sauna. And I'm like, imagine in that thing, small little spaces, right? You told me in our last chat, you can do this in a closet. And so there's just so much to it. But what I really love, and the objective of the show is really a healthcare angle. Strength training is so crucial for injury prevention and recovery. And so how does a Caerus Strength trainer fit into those areas? And specifically what I'm trying to get at is, let's say I'm a medical sales guy and I'm all in. Who would I call on who would find value in this product?
The beautiful thing is, depending on if you're calling on hospital systems, assisted living, independent living facilities, memory care, are you talking about physical therapists, performance, or regular? The beautiful thing, outpatient services, it works with all of them. And depending on where it's at, we do have specific people to call on. So for physical therapy, our system is so unique that not only are we able to put those within a clinic and be able to start showing results sooner, our goal for them is to see more first-time patients by getting their current clients back to function sooner. So if you look at it in the healthcare market, the most money made on a patient is usually on the first visit. It's the one where you take the longest with the patient, you're finding out histories, you're doing everything, but you make the most money. Every time after that, you make less and less. And some of these patients have been going to the same therapist for months and years. Well, there's more need in the physical therapy market than are physical therapists. If we can show a physical therapy location that, yes, it's easy for your therapist. They don't have to ambulate people. They can go to them if they're in a facility or not. They can work with them, get them healthy, and they can do these things because if they get a unit, they can go home and really, instead of lifting soup cans, they can do this in between therapy sessions, but to get them better sooner so that they're able to take on more first-time patients. And that could lead to as much as 20% increase on revenue just by doing the same job, but seeing more patients and getting patients healthier sooner. There's also areas that, for those that we have a Medicaid covered back brace, which looks like our strength trainer, but it also has an additional tightening strap, a thicker internal belt, but it comes with 5 inserts. One is a full back plate that's adjustable up and down that can go down to the sacrum. We got approved for Medicare codes L0650 and L0637. So really it's anything with a lower back issue, and we have our prescription pads with seems like hundreds of diagnoses that fit. But if you don't have a diagnosis and you don't have a doctor that wants to prescribe it to you, then we have the normal system that they can buy, and it's registered as an FDA physical therapy exercise device. But our whole goal is to help as many. So if they have a condition that needs a brace, well, why would you buy a static brace that once they're done, they're going to throw it away? So most of them look like a turtle shell. They do whatever. If you ever have a back brace or the little cheap ones that you put around and you throw away, if you had a choice to help your client and prescribe a brace that is pretty much meaningless after a few weeks, or something that they can use, and then if they want to, buy an adaptability kit. So the back brace comes as just the back brace, the vest, and the inserts. All the bands, handles, and everything need to be purchased separately. And that way it is aftermarket dollars. So when we get it, if they have a back brace diagnosis, that's what they get, is a back brace. It is a high quality, I think the best back brace in the market. But if they want, they can always buy an adaptability kit and turn that into their therapy system as well. So it's cool how it can touch different places, but getting those codes and with the commercial insurances, we should be able to help a lot of patients.
Yeah.
And that's
Hey,
the whole
Scotty,
thing is.
I have a question for you, Scotty.
Yeah.
And you brought it up 8 minutes ago on Adam's passion for his product. And I want to take a sales angle here because we have a lot of salespeople listen to this program and they're trying to improve their presentations. And what do you hear out of Adam, if you had to break it down, that makes him so damn good at pitching this product? Because it's not only, as I'm looking at it, I'm saying, yeah, the product's great, but you're really good at presenting this. Like, what do you see, Scotty? Because you and I talk about this a lot.
Yeah. One, it's completely authentic, which I think is huge in sales. Two, the passion behind it. And three, I think it's his concern and care for the patient, the actual person that's going to be using it, not necessarily the physician he's trying to sell it to, or the PT he's trying to sell it to, or the distributor he's trying to get to sell it. It's more about how do we help patients? And then you start hearing him talk about the back brace, and then don't just prescribe them something that they're going to use to get through what you're dealing with it for. Prescribe them something that they can use for the rest of their life that provides them benefit. And I think he's so authentic about it, and you can tell he's passionate about it. Obviously, you invent it. You're going to be passionate about it for sure, but you're not as passionate about the product as you are about the people that the product's serving. And I think that's huge.
Yeah.
When you're selling, something.
What stood out to me is, as you described the value to a physical therapist, and you said, as a result of using this, you may be able to increase the number of patients that you see by 20%.
Yeah.
Like that is, man, I wish most salespeople talked that way, as opposed to the average salesperson who would say, hey, let me show you where the strap goes. And then you flip it around and you know what I mean? The way he packages his words is so much more of a big picture, to your point, and you say it over and over, is solving this problem. But Adam knows what's going to come out of his mouth, right? Adam knows his pitch.
Yeah.
Now, he might have done it 2,000 times already, but it's easy for Adam to be passionate about his pitch because he knows, he believes in it, but he also knows what the hell he's going to say. And you and I see it all the time. We see bad product demos. Well, this is a really good product, but the way you describe it, Adam, really, it strikes a chord, and it would create curiosity and urgency in anybody. So
I think it does the other thing that we preach a lot here too, is what's in it for the rep, what's in it for the clinician, and most importantly, what's in it for the patient.
Right.
You know, you kind of hit the three things. It's important. And to your point there, Sully, there's a chance you're going to get to see 20% more patients by getting them on this therapy quicker. And that's what's in it for the clinician, let alone better outcomes for his patients down the road. But then also, and again, I want to get Adam back in here.
Yeah, I just want to say one more thing. So in the next 10 years, there's going to be like 1 in 4 Americans are going to have a Medicare card. It's going to be over 100 million Americans. And so right now, if you look at what's going on, the number of doctors retiring is like 125,000, and the number that are graduating are 25,000. They are retiring at a 5-to-1 clip. It's only getting worse. So it means less doctors and more need. And with a higher need, there's not enough facilities. So what people have talked about is obviously home health care or care within the home. We hope that our system can help be one of those tools that will allow people to receive care in the home. And we have sensors and things that we're bringing to market. NASA developed sensors and things that will be able to also do more than just be the device. It'll also give the readings and things that people are always looking for. We can do remote therapy marketing or RTM, RPM right now. So that is something that we can work with physical therapy offices to provide this remotely. But and again, I do look at the patient. I really appreciate you guys you looking at that. And there's always got to be a benefit to, like you said, there's got to be a benefit for people, hospital, like the places that we're selling to, even insurance companies. Quite frankly, if your patients are healthier for longer, you're spending less money. And the tools that they're giving people right now, they're paying more for. They can't do what our system does. And we're not trying to overprice the thing. And I think that's another thing is people are like, it's not what you make it for. It's how much value it brings. They're like, you could sell this for $5,000. I'm like, no, that is absurd. I am not trying to take advantage of the system. The same thing with the military. I'm not going to charge $250 for a hammer. It doesn't make sense. Like, I'm an American. I love where we live. I love where we're at. My goal is to make things better and not take advantage of the situation to line my pockets. It's how do we get this? Like, our system's broken. And I don't think
Adam, maybe you already
fix it, but it's like, I don't want to add to the problem and be like, well, let me suck all the money I can out and we'll just leave it dry. Like, our whole goal is to not do that.
Yeah. Question I just recently got on sleep apnea.
Yep.
And so my sleep apnea device, the first month that I had it, I had to use it 20 out of the 30 nights for a minimum of 4 hours for it to get any kind of a reimbursement to offset the cost of it. And once I set it up, I had to download the app, blah, blah, blah. But the machine sent information back to my physician, letting them know. And probably about halfway through, they're like, hey, you're about 2 nights behind. You need to make sure you're staying with it or your insurance isn't going to cover the part. Will this device at some point be able to give feedback back to the PT or give?
100%. So I've got it enabled right now. I've got a sensor that can be put in, but we haven't, again, just because where we're at in the marketplace, we are going to be bringing these more sensors. So we have a thermal sensor in which to get reimbursed for remote therapy, you need to at least have one electronic signal or a way to be able to make sure that they comply. There's got to be compliance. You can't just say you have it, but not comply with it. The sensor that we've already got our working prototype, not only does it have like a triple axis accelerometer, which can tell pace and force and all sorts of stuff. We'll have a temperature sensor for thermal, EKG for heart, but then we have a NASA-developed gas sensor, ENOS sensor, that works off essentially the breath of sweat. And as that comes in, that will be able to tell at a molecular level in real time certain levels, let's say where your magnesium is. If you need more of that and less potassium to be at an optimal level for your body to perform at the optimal levels in real time. So if you have to take these, you'll be able to see it. I licensed that technology from NASA, and I've got it for my system, and we have it in a working form we're miniaturizing. But imagine when we bring that to market, all the data that we're going to be able to collect, all you need is one. But our whole thing is that we're going to use sensors. Let's make it information that matters. Like, okay, it's one thing to see your heart rate, see your heartbeat. It's great to know what you're doing up and down, but we want to also have data that doctors can use to continue to make the patient better, to give that feedback. And on compliance, that's a huge thing. When you're looking at insurance reimbursement, if you're not able to show that they're actually using it and doing it, you won't get reimbursed. So ours, we do have a system that we can do that right now. And we're also building these sensors into the vest for future iterations.
It's amazing what data like that does for the patient or the user too, because like I have a Garmin and I sleep in it and I can track my sleep. Yeah, it tracks my heart rate, all that, but I watch my sleep every day. And if I've had a day where I was drinking, my sleep's terrible. If I go a couple of days without drinking, I start hitting 100s. And then all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, you know what? I want 100 tonight. I'm not having that drink tonight. I'm going to sleep. I'm going to get a good night's rest. And it's amazing how much it drives you, even at 54 years old, that I'm still driven by wanting to hit goals and achieve things. So I think that's huge for sure.
So you're giving up booze, Scotty?
I'm not giving it up. No, for sure. Hell no. I haven't had a drink this year at this point.
Are we talking dry January?
No, I'm headed to the Bama Ole Miss game on Monday.
Okay.
And I'm sure when I get over there, it won't be a dry January.
You're about to have a shitty sleep, huh?
Exactly. I'll be off. But I will say it's amazing how much tracking stuff and looking at the monitoring of it. It's the old thing that Billy Harris, one of my mentors, always told me, people only respect what you inspect. And by inspecting that every day to see, hey, what was my score last night? It drives me to.
It's true.
The next day when I'm ready to go pour myself build me a nice tall brown liquor drink, I don't do it.
Yeah. Well, I think it does a few things. It illustrates people, lets them know where they're at. It gives them data and feedback. I will say, I think way too many people underestimate the senior population. I think a lot of people think that they just don't want to work out. They're uninterested in being healthy. You're going to have a portion that no matter what you do is never going to want to do anything.
Yeah, I want to sit in
But I
front of
would
TV.
say I see the exact opposite in the baby boomer generation. They've taken care of their parents. They've seen them in the nursing homes. They've seen them go down that way. They're starting to see their friends do the same thing. And
Oh, my
everybody's
dad's
like,
a machine,
wait,
man.
what do we do? And I think they are more motivated, that generation, and we should be coming behind it because now we're living longer. So you're seeing the effects of aging last longer and longer. And people are, I think they're almost scared into motivation. But I think, again, instead of looking stupid, there's not a lot of options or people are afraid to get started. So hopefully our system can help with that. But I think the motivation is there at an all-time level in the baby boomer generation. For that fact is now they're starting to see friends, everybody's starting to go at different levels. And you can see the friends that have been lifting weights, so muscle is medicine. It's not cardio. They found that strength training is number one. And you can see the friends that lift weights and that are in shape, not just cardio shape, but lift. And then you see the people that are exact same age, buddies that are in wheelchairs that can't do anything right now. And you start making that assessment of there are life choices, but at the same point, you start seeing the attributes of the ones that are able to still function at a high level, physically everything, and those that aren't, and you can do something about it. That's the whole thing. It's not.
Can you do this in a recliner while watching Wheel of Fortune?
You can. You put on the vest. You can do leg presses. You can do chest presses, triceps. You can do biceps. Well, you can sit back in your recliner. You can do shoulders, reverse flies. Can
you hold the brown liquor in one hand?
All that sit down.
Brown liquor in one hand.
Hey, no, it's like this.
Hey,
Sully.
I've got the sleeves right here. Hey, I've got sleeves right here, buddy. Go hands free.
Yeah, you get the wrist.
Well, put one to your leg, and now you've got a little resistance.
Hey,
Maybe you can prevent. Here's what we got to do for Scotty. We put Scotty in this thing. We tighten it up so when he goes and grabs it, I'm lazy. Screw it.
Almost
Screw it.
I get a straw. Hey, Adam, it's funny you say that. A couple of things to that. Over the next, I think it's the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to see a $2 trillion increase in healthcare spending in the U.S. because of the boomers. Number two, I think you're dead right about a majority of them that are into their health. I mean, my dad turned 78 this month. He does 5 miles a day. He's up at 4:30 every morning. He works out. He's a machine, but he's in great shape. He does what he wants. He's still sharp. He keeps up with himself, and he's constantly busy and doing stuff. And I think you said muscle is medicine. I've always said motion is medicine. Stay in constant motion and you'll stay healthy. You get lackadaisical and sit in front of a TV, you're probably better off to go smoke a pack a day and walk the block.
Well, they showed it. And my chief medical officer gave me the statistics. All right, I think he did. He said you can have two women side by side. One is extremely overweight. One is thin, but the thin one never works out. And the overweight one works out every day and strength trains, but is overweight. That overweight person is going to live longer and have a much higher chance of a longer life. Again, you can have a smoker that eats terrible, but if they work out compared to somebody that is not doing any of that, but not doing any working out, that they can tend to live even longer. That muscle like strength is literally helps reduce all-cause mortality. There's a lot of things in strength training that there's so many benefits to it. And I think people are just starting to learn that. It used to be cardio. Yeah. The more cardio you can do, the more pounds you shed. But if you do too much cardio and not weightlifting, you actually can shrink your muscles, which makes everything a lot worse. Yeah. So they're really starting to say it's the resistance training. Yes, it's great to have a good heart and lungs, but if you're going to do it, also have that strength training because that's really what's going to help you not fall. And I will say the downward spiral that happens. So as seniors get older, your mom, she trips, she falls, taking the garbage out. Well, guess what, Mom? I'm going to have Scotty come over and take your garbage out. Don't worry about it. We don't want you to fall. Hey, don't worry. We're going to start mowing your lawn. We're going to do this. And the more you start doing for the loved ones because you love them, you don't want them to fall, the less they're doing, the more they're going to fall. Yeah. And it's that vicious cycle that you want to be that loving because now you've seen it, so you're protecting them. But if you're not pushing them to get back to where they were and at least doing those things, it literally happens so quickly that their health begins to fade and their quality of life begins to fade. And that's the thing to try fighting against is as a senior gets older, if something happens, motivate them to where they get back to being able to do it instead of doing it for them. Yeah. And today, everything's automated. I can order my groceries and deliver it here. I don't got to walk around a store. I don't have to do anything. I can order
scary.
Food,
this is scary stuff, Adam, because you just convinced me my kids are going to die young because their mother does everything for them.
It is. Well, the funny thing is everybody's trying to do and automate things to make life easier, and that's all good. But then you have to replace it by doing something more physical to keep your body and everything active.
You got me on this. Are you saying if I've got to make a choice in the evening between jumping on a treadmill or doing dumbbells, always choose the dumbbells? I'm
going to say choose the dumbbells 80%, 90% of the time. I wouldn't say completely neglect your cardio. If you have a choice to do one or the other in a day, almost every time I'm choosing to do resistance training.
Interesting.
Like grip strength is a big indicator of people's longevity. Again, it's all about strength. And in seniors, the quadriceps are the biggest muscles that they measure, they monitor, because those are the muscles that are there for slips, trips, and falls. So for somebody to be independent, being able to do their activities of daily living, if they're stronger in their legs, they're able to move, they're able to get up, that is, you can build those muscles. And we can do progressive weighted sit to stand, a lot of the therapeutic moves that you can't really do without our system, because we have the bands, because we're attached to the feet and the body. We can increase those and make people's get up and go test, which is the gold standard for fall risk category, get them up and off that spectrum quicker so they can go home. But yeah, I think if I had to choose, I would do strength training over cardio a majority of the time. But again, I wouldn't neglect cardio. Yeah. But if you have to do one or the other, strength training gives you a lot more benefit. I would.
Before we jump into rapid fire, Sully, I kind of want to get off of this for a second, just because of why we got you on the podcast and some of the teams you were on. Give us one or two of your mentors, like over the years, and kind of what they meant to you, or maybe a story or two about them.
So my mentors, I mean, there's Michigan guys. Now, the best boss sales coach I ever had, his name was Mike Amin. Mike, he was a wrestler at Michigan. I actually wrestled for his brother and won the state championship at Troy, but he was my first boss. And having been an athlete at Michigan, he taught me how to do sales. I mean, literally, it was the old school, threw me a Yellow Pages book, and we were doing financial services. And I was calling people randomly as a kid out of college, trying to sell them buy-sell agreements. And, hey, what does a business need? And learning how to do that, cold calling, prospecting, all the way through to how I sell now. But it was the relentless, no fear, pick up the phone. At the end of the day, a lot of problems get solved by picking up the phone. And most people hate doing it, but once you make the first couple calls, then you're in a rhythm. It's like working out. Half the battle is getting out the door. Once you're in the car, you're on your way, you're at the facility, you're like, well, I'm here. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Why else am I here? It's getting out the door. So it's getting started that is the hardest part. So in sales, pick up the phone. Yeah, you might rattle out. Who cares? There's a billion people. You can screw up calls, learn from it. People might laugh at you on the other line. Fine. It's a game. But at the end of the day, don't be scared of the phone. So I would say, as just an overall professional, sales and confidence as a mentor, Mike Amin taught me to be relentless, but only be relentless. Like, we were selling life insurance. So at the same point in time, I was trying to sell people something for their family, and it was always trying to do something good. And when I sell stuff, I need to sell something I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
Selling pens wouldn't make me passionate. But if it's something that I believe in, that I can fully go behind, then you get passionate. You guys keep talking about how passionate I am. And I laugh to my wife. I'm like, all I'm doing is telling the story. I'm like, I'm not even trying to be passionate. I'm just trying to get out like the story, and it comes out passionate. And she's like, well, that's why it's passionate, because you're not trying. So it's not fake. It's literally having the real motivation behind what you're doing and know why you're there. And so Mike Amin was a huge, huge help for me in my professional life.
I always love hearing people's mentors and kind of lessons they learn. There's always good pearls in there. And I love the tenaciousness that he taught you, and like you said, just get out the door. I think old Harvey Arnott used to say, just darken the door, man.
He told me the biggest line was, he goes, you're gonna hear 100 no's, but the yeses pay really well.
Yeah.
So you're gonna hear way more no's than yeses, but the yeses pay well.
Yeah, that's a great saying.
It was true. I'm like, okay, the next call could be the one, and if you don't pick it up, you'll never know. And I got to love sales that way. So cold calling, to this day, I love it. It is absolutely one of my favorite things to do, because I'm good enough to hear what they want, know what they need to hear, to get me in front of them, so that I can unfold the story, and then they'll become believers. But for me, I love it. It's almost a game, but I've gotten really good at it. And that, again, started with Mike. I think I still hold the record, at least at New England Financial. We had this thing called, it was one day of nothing but 12 hours of calling. We had this contest. I scheduled like 49 in-home appointments in 12 hours, and the closest person to me was at like 11. And I knew I was good on the phone. So again, I think I owe a lot to him in my professional career.
That's awesome, man.
Hey, you just created audio gold for me, right? I have 16 cold callers, and it's all they do. And so I've got this clip right now that will be in their Slack channel tomorrow morning. Thank you.
Awesome.
Because
Glad
the
to help.
lesson is, and you said it, it all starts with cold calling. If you could be good and confident and face rejection, guess what? You too, at some point, may invent your own device and be your own CEO. Getting to where you are doesn't come easy, right? You had to work really hard, and you just shared a great story that it started what most people think is the bottom, picking up a Yellow Pages and actually dialing. So well said, well done. I love it. All right, Scotty, why don't you take them to your favorite part? Hey, Scotty, by the way, who's a really good sponsor for Share Moving Media right now?
Probably Midmark, Welch Allen.
All right. Well, let's just stop there. Let's see. All right. I know you're going to be right. You're like Switzerland right here. When we go to Rapid Fire, we always say it's got to be sponsored by. This segment of Rapid Fire is sponsored by Midmark. Scotty, take it away.
So my favorite one in the rapid fire questions that we have, and I'm just going to, this isn't in order, is what is the strangest pregame ritual you've seen either yourself or another player do?
Oh my goodness. I don't know that we can describe those on TV. I mean, there's some real odd things that happen. I mean, from snapping footballs naked in the locker room to all sorts of craziness. I don't know what we can tell. So I think I'll just leave it at that. I mean, that's pretty crazy.
All right, Sully, you.
All right, I'll take it away. Hey, what's the most ridiculous injury that you've ever had on or off the field?
My lower back. So I went through all my sports, never really had an injury. I was at a job. I washed my hands. I reached over to grab a towel, and my back went pop. My hips were 2.5 inches off. It was the worst pain of my life, and I'd still deal with back pain. And it was from grabbing a paper towel. It wasn't from hitting anybody. It wasn't from jumping anything. I was literally washing my hands, and I threw my back out, and been dealing with that ever since.
Fastest pin of your career?
5 seconds.
Was it Sully?
No.
Hey, Scotty, you laugh. So I played lacrosse in high school, but they needed an extra guy on the wrestling team. And so I was supposed to be 119 my senior year. And our 134 got injured, and there was 2 of us down at 119. And so my coach came to me and said, "Hey, Sully, can you go up to 134?" I said, "Well, coach, I'm going to see every ceiling of every gym." He's like,
staring at lights, baby.
I knew every pattern of every high school gym in Connecticut. So, yes.
I don't think I ever weighed 119 pounds. I think I came out more than that. So
show off.
Adam, coffee or energy drink?
Coffee.
All day
long.
All
right. If you could design a fitness challenge for Scotty and Sully, what would it be?
Oh, man, I could do 30 days, 30 minutes a day in my vest. If you put my vest on.
Scotty, I think we just got a free sample.
Oh, hey, if you're willing to do it and tell the story afterwards, I'm in. I'm in. If you do 30 days, 30 minutes a day, you're going to come back and go, oh, my God, this is well more than I thought it was going to be. That is the coolest part about my product is when people look at it, it's one thing. When they put it on, I don't care how big of an athlete they are. They're like, oh, my gosh, like it hits way different than it looks. So if you're willing to do it, I'll call that Pepsi challenge. I will take it.
I'm in.
Scotty, you in?
I'm in.
All right.
All right, yeah. You'll do it, and I'll do a little post every day of where I'm at, where I'm feeling. Scotty, maybe you could do the same thing for Share Movie Meeting. And then at the end, maybe we'll celebrate with one of those brown liquors. But we'll put a little wager on it.
I also want to make sure we get Adam introduced to Steve Engel and McClung, just because I think both of those guys could help him.
Yeah. Well,
sure.
here's what I learned in our last conversation with Adam. It's why I wanted to get him on this program. Is he's talking to my buddy Wardo.
I thought you just met him.
Yeah, I did. I just met him a week ago. Yeah, but a week ago. So he was on our Golf Underground podcast, and Wardo took him out to Royals Stadium, right? Because George Brett was one of our co-hosts. And Wardo's testing it for the golf swing. Scotty, you and I, obviously, we like golf, right? And he figured out the stretch here and here. And Wardo's like, my, that's awesome. And I don't mean to steal your thunder here, but the results have been unbelievable as far as getting distance on drivers and irons and everything, right? You've seen that? Sick.
Yeah, so one of the PGA guys was hitting at 350. He put it on, and 20 minutes later, he hit it 383, 33 yards further. Like, people spend thousands on drivers to hit an extra 5-10 yards, and they're straight. So that's the other thing is the technique. It helps cure a lot of things, and you can feel your muscles. So the neuromuscular connection, when you're doing it right, it reinforces it more. So even when you have it off, it reinforces the feeling you're supposed to have. And that's what we found in baseball and golf. But go ahead. What were you saying?
No, well, and it keeps, the big thing that stood out to me is it keeps your legs, your lower body quiet, right? Which allows you to then pivot around it. So there's so many physiological things behind it that it's not just a little gadget you see at late night TV for 1999. This is this is a sophisticated with science behind it product. And to me, that's all fine and good, but if it doesn't produce results, no one would buy it. The stuff that you have shared with me, and of course, George Brett was fired up, and the Royals, you gave me a story earlier. You had, an Angel?
Yep, the Dodgers, and I think it was, let me pull it right up here right now while we're just saying this. I know this makes for great radio.
No worries.
Podcast. So, we just had it on yesterday. We're going to get it on the Savannah Bananas, I believe. But Mickey Moniak, who was an Angels, and then we had I don't know if I should be saying the names, but a gentleman on the Dodgers. So we've had it on some of the Angels players, Dodgers, the Royals, a few more that are already lining up. But the exit velocity that people are seeing, the increase after 15, 20 minutes on average, even in the youth, is between 6 and 12 miles an hour. And the angle, everything from technique to all the right things you want to see. So weighted bats and balls can actually make your practicing with those can reduce and lower your exit velocity. It may change your swing. This has increased it right out of the gate. So there's a reason why it's about to take off across a lot of sports. Swinging, golf, baseball, those are just two. But it's showing a lot of results, provable, like measurable results that aren't us. We put people in it and say, go to town. So that's been pretty cool to watch.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations, bud.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, Adam, this has been awesome. Final question before we let you go. What legacy do you hope to leave behind as both an athlete and an entrepreneur?
Well, I think the legacy I want to leave behind, literally, I would love to change so many lives that at some point in time, I could be considered for a Nobel Prize. That's how many people I want to touch. I would literally love to help hundreds of millions of people across the globe have access to something that could really help them. Like that would mean more to me than anything in sports or that. It's if you do something that can help change mankind or can help change something for the good, that would be the ultimate goal for me.
That's an awesome answer, man. Thank you so much for being on the show, brother.
I've got a wheelchair invention that will be next. That there's over 65 million people in wheelchairs in the world. It's a $2 trillion market. And after I get this done, I would give it away. I would give it to wheelchairs. Yeah,
my mom's in a wheelchair. I'll be interested to see that.
Let's just put it this way. You would never have to take her out or anybody to take her out to change a diaper, to change a pad. They can go anywhere. It would be wouldn't even have to lift them. So it wouldn't be a 1 or 2 person lift. And you would give dignity and be able to have anybody changed in a wheelchair in any restroom without having to take them out of their wheelchair. And the design that I have is because of my daughter, what I would do to help her. And literally, there's not changing tables anywhere for adults. They have to sit in soiled diapers. And I'm telling you, my whole goal is to change people's lives. It's to really help people. So everything I do, this isn't it, Scott. We're going to be talking a lot of times because there's a lot more that I've got coming. But it's all through solving problems. It's never about what can I sell somebody. It's all about what problems are we solving. And I think if we're solving problems and helping people, then you can't lose.
Everybody's winning.
Totally.
I agree.
All right. So where can listeners learn more about the Caerus?
So we've got two. So for the medical providers that want to look at the back brace that's covered through reimbursement, that is CaerusTherapeutics.com. And then if you want to look at all the functional training, the strength and stuff you can do when you have the adaptability kit, that's CaerusStrength.com. So we have two different ones because the back brace is really centered on what they get with the insurance and what they buy. So Caerus is CAERUS, Therapeutics, THERAPEUTICS.com. I'm saying that out loud. That's pretty long. That's pretty confusing. I should probably shorten that up there, Sully. And then CaerusStrength.com.
Look at this. Hey, Scotty, we got John Moran.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't realize Moran was a spokesman.
Look how happy that dude is. You're selling happiness, Adam. All right, well, listen, you're a good man. You're a good man.
Hey, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you one question, Brian. You know Randy Roy, right?
I sure do.
Randy's had that lower back problem since he was 17 years old.
Yes, he has.
He put the strength trainer, not the back brace, the strength trainer on yesterday with an X pattern of bands across his back, instantaneously took away his pain. Said he's been feeling it since he was 17 years old, no pain. It lined him up that he's got zero pain. He wants to go play 18 holes of golf in my vest with the thing on the back because he doesn't think his back will hurt. So you know him.
I do know him. But I also know the way he traditionally heals it is with a double Tito's vodka with
Nice.
just a few ice cubes.
I bet he doesn't sleep good.
Yeah.
I bet he doesn't sleep good.
Right? He's
Yeah.
not getting that 100 score.
I'm telling you,
He's
hey,
not-
this
he's not sleeping worth a shit.
no, he's he's good. By the way, you got to send pictures of you in that CPAP. I want to see
Yeah,
it. Right?
those will
Hey,
never leave the bedroom.
well, the thing you left me with on this section, Adam, is it sounds like this device is even better than Balance of Nature.
Yeah.
MyPillow.com.
Right?
All right, listen, we're going to keep in touch with you. We definitely have connections in the healthcare industry, and we wanted to get you on to share your story, not only to talk about the product, but you got a great story in entrepreneurship, salesmanship, being a great dad, being a great friend, great passion. And so thanks for inspiring everybody today. You're the man.
Happy New
I
Year,
appreciate you
guys.
having me on.
All right,
Where
pleasure.
can they
All right,
find
guys.
us, Sully?
What's that?
Where can they find
You're
us?
better at that part, Scotty. Where can they find us?
Anywhere you get your podcast, folks. YouTube
That's
is
it.
the best place to watch it, but you can get it on Spotify. You can get it on Apple. Anywhere you find podcasts, download it and listen to it today. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys, been with
Adam, great to
Adam
meet you, my man.
Adkins, Caerus. Check it out. See you next time on The Cure.
Thanks.
See you, bud.